checking back in to Sipping Tea with MBG on this beautiful Saturday, January 13th. I hope you guys' week was very, very successful, very productive. Of course, we got everyone in the building today. Adam, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm good. What about you, Lillie Mae?
I can't call it because we about to talk about these crazy disorders, and y'all know how I be feeling about crazy people.
Well, yeah, because you be ready to do diagnosis and stuff early in the game, so we already know. Hope you got your book out, though. You got like 3 books.
You got to use yours today because, you know, mine got marks all in it.
Okay, well, guys, of course, this is, we talking about mental health. This is our mental health month. And for those that checked in last week, you got a taste of an introduction or overview of what's to come for this month in January. And, just want to just recap real quick and just let everybody know. Yes, I mentioned Tyrese. And the reason why I mentioned Tyrese as what kicked off this thing was because it was more so of an inspiration and more so an investigation type on my end. We see so many times people, run to social media and just let out and burst out emotion, and then you find out later that maybe there is something going on or maybe they didn't take some medicine. So that pretty much is more of an inspiration and not more so like a study case or anything like that, because MBG, we're not psychologists. We're just here to inform whether it is something that we see from personal or something that we see on social media. We're just here to inform and let you know what we know so you can make better decisions. So with that being said, we're going to jump into this thing, and today we're going to talk about two of the most common, I would think is most common. I don't know about Lillie and Adam. They might think, Munchausen syndrome or something might be a little bit more common than these, but we're going to talk about bipolar and schizophrenia.
I agree. Because you already know, I agree with bipolar and schizophrenia, but go ahead, girl, because, I'm going to try to stay down.
It's all good. But, we're going to talk about them, too, and just kind of do some comparison and contrast. And, bipolar and schizophrenia is not what you may think or know from being in years. They changed the definition so much throughout the years, and they update the DSM. I don't know what it is now. Is it 7 DSM diagnostic 7? I don't even know anymore.
We still at 5. They ain't changed. We still at 5. But it's coming.
They change every day. So it's what you may think is bipolar. Maybe they maybe call it too high tomorrow. They always change stuff. But we're going to get into this thing. So bipolar, which is also known as manic depressive illness. See how they changed it? This is a disorder that causes unusual shifts in mood, energy, activity levels, and the ability to carry out day-to-day tasks. I know we all know somebody that's like that. What y'all think? Y'all know somebody like that?
Your president.
Yeah, bye. Adam, you know somebody like that just changes mood quick? 1 second they this, 1 second they that. They can't really handle. You personally know somebody like that? Or I've had them episodes myself when I be moody sometimes. That's just me, though.
Oh, yeah, plenty of people.
Yeah, and then, I don't want nobody to go off here and be like, girl, you bipolar. Because MBG said if you act like this, you bipolar. That's not what we're doing here. We're just educating. So, but, of course, you can find the definition of bipolar in any other mental health disorder, mental health illness, personality disorder. One of the websites is www.nimh.nih.gov. Interesting.
And of course, for any kind of mental illness, you want to get diagnosed by a doctor.
Yeah, that's true. Not us, because we'll say you bipolar, and you really might be something else for real. But,
you just might be stupid, like Betty Lou would say.
You might be something for real. But there's 4 types of bipolar disorder. There's bipolar 1 disorder, bipolar 2 disorder, I probably said it wrong, Lily. Y'all forgive me. Cyclothymic,
cyclothymia.
Yeah, disorder, and other specified and unspecified bipolar and related disorders. So bipolar is looked at as kind of like a pendulum. You're either way over to the left or way over to the right, and there's no in between. You know how some people, they'll say I've heard a little bit of bipolar is natural. It's okay because we just a ball of emotion, but too much is not normal. So I don't know if you've noticed people that kind of just go on a rant and clean, or spin, and they're like that for like days on end, and then next thing you turn around, you don't really hear from them. They're kind of in the bed all the time, and that goes on for a month, maybe at a time, maybe weeks at a time. It's just extreme. And you're like, well, what in the world is going on with you? One minute you was, spending your money like you was balling, and next minute you depressed because you spent too much. What's really going on? And I had that moment. Maybe I don't really, me personally, I don't really spend and then be mad because I spend too much. I just might spend a little bit more, and I just missed a bill or something. Then I get mad, but I don't have it. I don't go to the extreme as far as the spectrum is concerned. But Lillie, I know you come across this all the time, and please elaborate on what you see and how you might have dealt with somebody that probably didn't even know they were bipolar, or they realized that they were, and how they deal.
So Amber, it's interesting. It's interesting that you said that. It's interesting that you talked about the spending. You talked about the people staying in the bed all the time, and I'm glad that when you introduced bipolar, you mentioned manic depressive illness. Because, see, and it's us, and I say colors. We color folk quick to call somebody bipolar.
Right.
But what you said is accurate, because what people don't realize is a lot of people who are bipolar got fucked up credit because of that very thing. That state of mania is the state that caused them to do all of those things. Because their thoughts are racing and they all discombobulated and everything is aggression. You know what I'm saying? But this is one that I wanted to ask you if you had ever noticed, or if you have ever come across. If you notice that people who are bipolar always believe they can do and achieve and attempt things that are beyond me. Like, one of the most erratic things would be flying. That's what you always see on TV. Mm-hmm. But what I've noticed in young people with bipolar disorder is that they seem to think that they really and this one kid, he basically will tell you, I don't need you to teach me. I can teach this whole class.
So, that actually is a good comparison to schizophrenia based on the definitions that I came across, because that's somewhat of a loose touch of reality. Not saying that can't be accomplished, but if a child is telling you, I don't need you to teach me, I can teach this whole class. Okay, well, teach it then. And it's kind of like, are you here? Are you saying it for attention? Because you know how kids are. They'll be disruptive, and you be like, you know what, so and so want to be seen, so come on up here and be seen.
Yep.
So that's really interesting that you said that, because according to the positive symptoms of schizophrenia, and we're gonna get into it, that's the part of the loose touch of reality. So maybe for him, in his mind, he could teach it, but I don't know. Did you try him? Could he teach?
Child, no. Hey, Amber, one thing. I try not to get too crazy.
Mm.
But let me say this, Amber. Let me say this, and I think we have to address this. Amber J and myself are bipolar, but we're not bipolar by diagnosis.
Right.
Amber J and I, and Amber, this is crazy because I just thought about this. We are a bipolar collaboration for MBG. I'm the mania and she's the depressive state. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Because, Amber, think about it. Now, really, and guys, this is Sipping Tea with MBG, and let's have fun for a minute, because one thing about MBG, this is a serious conversation, but there are probably some of y'all listening that are really feeling some type of way, so we're going to put some humor in it. But just listen. Amber J constantly has to say, Lillie, slow down. Lillie, don't talk so much. Listen. Lillie, tone it down some. Those are all signs and symptoms of mania.
Mm-hmm.
The depressed state would be decreased talking. Amber doesn't talk as much as me. I'll take risks. She's not going to take risks. She might take a few calculated risks, but she's not going to take risks. I have a decreased need for sleep. Amber like, look, I'm sleeping. I'm not getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning to talk to you, girl. So we want you to understand that just because you exhibit or you display some of these signs and symptoms, like Adam, the editor, said, we're not saying that you're bipolar, and you could be, but we're not saying you're bipolar. We want you to go get checked out. But, Amber, I think that, we gotta really break this thing down and make it practical. Because now that we're talking about it, Amber, there's some people out here that really are suffering. Amber, they suffering.
Yep, and don't even realize that they're suffering. And to bring up bipolar, of course, I'm always using examples. Like, for instance, like I said, this was inspired by, the whole thing with Tyrese. Now,
well, it was inspired, but it's not, because we want to make sure, guys, yes, Tyrese and what happened with him kind of drove us to say, you know what, y'all, we got to talk about mental health. But we don't want you to feel like MBG just looks at what happens to celebrities and that's what we talk about. No. We are addressing mental health, number one, because MBG focuses a lot on minorities. And please understand, what did we say earlier, Amber? Minority does not just mean what?
Black.
Exactly. We talking about the LGBT community. We talking about children of incarcerated parents. We talking about single parents, because we need you to understand this. But I'm sorry, Amber, go ahead, because I get fired up.
I know, but for me, I always use examples, and for me, it may be an artist or somebody because that person has been real with what's been going on with it. And Jennifer Lewis, if y'all don't know who she is, she's like the mother, the black mother of Hollywood, and she has expressed of how she's bipolar and how it took her doctor to convince her. It took him about 5 years to convince her to get on medicine because she was operating in a manic state the whole time. It didn't know she was. She just thought, okay, this is me. This is who I am. If I get on medication, it's going to mess me up, not really realizing that it was being detrimental at the same time. So a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people out here suffering, but what is it going to take for the light to come on? Like, you know what, something is really going on, and it may be normal to me, but maybe it's really not normal. Maybe something's going on. What is it going to take? And we're going to get into that as far as, when we see something individually and collectively, what will it take to bring awareness to something like that? Because mental health really is the silent killer. I call it the silent killer because it's not talked about enough. And it damn sure ain't talked about enough in the black community, because we still will put up the uncle that ain't right down the hall in the last room to the left. We still would do that and not say, you know what, that person need to go see somebody, need some medicine. Why? Because it's like you said, Lily, what goes on in the house stays in the house. That's
Amber,
why.
let me ask you this, because I know that for you, psychology was more your focus, in school. And for me, I didn't get into psychology and abnormal psych until grad school.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get the foundation. Well, to be honest with you, I got the foundation in my damn house with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And, assessing my dad's family and stuff like that, because a lot of times a lot of the things that I saw, it was like, wow, now when I think back, some of my relatives really did have some issues. But what I wanted to say to you is simply this. I wanted to ask you about, how everybody be like, oh, they bipolar, they attention-seeking. Mm-hmm. But I was reading, and I don't quote me because I cannot remember exactly what book I was reading, but do you know that they operationalize, and I finally can say it without getting tongue-tied, they operationalize borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder and, like antisocial and narcissistic and all of that. Do you know that they operationalize those as dramatic and erratic disorders?
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Sounds like normalcy. Sounds like normalcy, like you're trying to normalize it, so to speak.
Well, but Amber, and you've heard me say this before, how do we know, and you know this is me, and you know I'm crazy with it, how do we know that people with these disorders, how do we know that they're not the normal ones and we the abnormal ones?
Right.
Now, I'm just being real. I'm being real. And you know I always make this, comparison when I talk about children with special needs and how loving and how caring and how they would give the clothes off their back. And the general population of kids walking around just being nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it really makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, because I get excited, but go ahead.
I know. But we will get into the next one, and then, like I said, we're really going to dive into it, which is schizophrenia. And, of course, the definition, by the way, same website that I said earlier, schizophrenia is defined as chronic and severe mental disorder that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves, lost touch with reality. And there's 3 categories for symptoms. You have positive, negative, and cognitive.
Oh,
interesting how they broke that up. Because you would think, how do you have positive symptoms of schizophrenia? And the positives are hallucinations, delusions, thought disorders, movement disorders. The negatives is the reduced feeling of pleasure in everyday life, difficulty beginning, sustaining activities. And the cognitive is just poor executive functioning, trouble focusing or paying attention, problems with working memory. See how they just broke it up into 3 categories. And Adam, this is where I want you to jump in and just kind of elaborate on schizophrenia and, your experience with that and just how dealing and just that whole aspect.
I was just about to ask the same thing, Amber, because I remember, and guys, this is Sipping Tea with MBG, and one thing about MBG, we have conversations with one another, all right? So don't ever feel like what we're talking about, some public figure had to, influence it. A lot of times when we're in deep conversation with each other, things come up about ourselves and our families, and we'll be like, hey, is this okay to talk about? And, the other person might be like, yeah, that's cool. And they might not want to talk about it, but one of us might. So please understand, we use personal and familial experiences to try to inform and educate you guys. But sorry about that, Adam. Definitely, tell us, about schizophrenia from what you've seen. Take your time. We know it's kind of touchy. Amber, I think it's going to be a little touchy.
Okay.
What I can say is, I know you talked about how they break it down into positive symptoms and negative symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen, and I'm going to talk about, I don't want to name drop, but I think you'll know who I'm talking about when I say the person that mom looks out for, that looks out for her too.
Mhm.
Okay, so he's schizophrenic. I trust this man. I would trust this man with $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
I would trust him with $1 million and know that if I left him $1 million, if he spent $1 million of my dollars, he's going to try his best to get it back. And what I know is that he displays odd thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But when I sit down and start the process, it's not odd. because the stuff that he's saying is stuff that he's seen on TV or read, but the way he processes it is different. So his perception is like, it's just heightened, like it might be real wild. You know what I mean?
So it's kind of like taking the long way around.
There you go. But the other thing, Amber, is that people don't understand. Just like in bipolar disorder, you know how your thoughts be racing all the time or slowed down. Schizophrenia is the same way. And see, my issue is this. My issue is, at what point are we misdiagnosing people who are bipolar and people who are schizophrenic?
That's true.
And I'm going to post some of the assessment data. Guys, go to our Motivational Brown Girls page on Facebook, because we also, after we have discussions, we post stuff. But, Amber, I think about him, when you asked about their personal experience, also, you said negative symptoms. Some of the negative symptoms, and if you will, can you verify for me whether the lack of friends and passivity and kind of speaking flat emotions, are those some of the negative symptoms?
Yep, the flat effect, reduced expression of emotions, the tone, kind of just
like a dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like your president.
Or the resting bitch face.
Heard what I said, like your president. But Amber, once again, that individual, the same way. He can make the funniest joke in the world, but his face will be like, bleh, duh. No one wants to be around him except for, a few of the people that live near him. And one of the other things is interesting is that I always hear that schizophrenic people are passive, which I agree with that. But I don't know, in your experience and in your learnings, have you ever found that a lot of individuals with schizophrenia, when they talk to you, they got to be close up on you to talk to you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
yes. I had that experience.
Okay.
I had that experience because it was Lord, it was it had to have been around the holidays or so. It had to have been. I think it was around the holidays, and this was some years ago. Okay. And we had company come over, and my brother ended up meeting like some of his family from his daddy's side. So I'm just, minding my business, and the guy just comes up to me and strikes a conversation, but he's extremely close. And me, I pick up on stuff, so I'm trying
to already know
and be like, what is wrong with you? But what happened was I was like, well, he awfully, came awfully close. And, he won't, threatening or nothing like that. He was just really, in your personal space. So after conversation with the other people in the room, you come to find out that he had a terrible car accident, which triggered the now schizophrenia. And if you don't take his medicine, he'll, do some wild stuff. And which, if you don't know, you can call it. Same thing happened with Tiffany Haddish's mother in her car accident. As soon as she had a car accident, she developed schizophrenia because of trauma to the brain, which can happen. So then again, that's another example. Somebody for so long that they ain't had no issues, no nothing, and something as tragic as a car accident or just a trauma in general can trigger something like that. And you're like, well, what in the world's going on? But I've had somebody be real, real close, and then it threw me for a loop at first, but then I realized, okay, something's going on here. So I wasn't abrupt or anything like that. Versus somebody in the store who up on you and you in line.
Yeah. And I think that plays a big part of it. Environment plays a huge part of it. But Amber, this is something that I never forget, Dr. Stein, a professor of VSU, said. He said, y'all have to understand, we see with our brains, not with our eyes.
Yep.
So when we're looking at people and making assumptions, we're the asshole. We got to really process what we're seeing. And when you process what you're seeing, that's your eyes sending the information to your brain. And I think that's the biggest thing that we got to make sure people understand. And Amber, you know, we're talking about these personality disorders, and one of the things that, you know, I know we said that we want to do, we're not diagnosing, but we do want to help people understand how to deal with people, you know, with those illnesses. And like Amber just said, y'all, people with mental illness have the same rights as people who don't have mental illness. Because let me tell you something. You might be sitting beside somebody at work with a mental illness and you don't know it. The only difference between them and you is that they're diagnosed and you're not.
Right.
You know, something else you said, Amber, you got to continue to assess the situation. If she hadn't really tried to understand, she would have mistreated that man, and for real, she might not be sitting here talking to us today, or she might have some missing teeth or some fake.
Right, because he probably went off on me.
and the spacing thing, and Amber, that's the part that is interesting that you said that whole space thing. I worry about that because so many people get. Well, we're taught to be fearful. You know, little kids are not scared of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But we are so fearful that we have to be mindful of the space, but sometimes they need to invade our personal space to feel normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to feel their normal. So, guys, you know, this is Sipping Tea with MBG, and Amber J has brought you a wealth of information on bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And now pretty much what we're doing is just, you know, we talking about this thing. But Amber J has some statistics that I think are necessary. And Amber, can you give some of those statistics and kind of talk about how you felt, you know, when you read those things?
Sure. And I'm glad you brought, like, you know, those things up as far as, you know, how we have to, what you say, we think with our brain, we see with our brains and not with our eyes, because it brings awareness to how do we deal, you know, and again, you know, how do we deal as a collective, how do we deal as individuals to bring awareness, how to approach, you know, when it comes to mental health. But the statistics that I came across were very interesting. One was from psychologytoday.com and the other one was from mentalhealthamerica.net. And when it comes to bipolar disorder, most African Americans are undiagnosed and untreated, and it's various reasons. Now, I know, Lily, you love the doctor, but I could care less for the doctor. I'm going to go unless I have to go, and hopefully it ain't too late. Mm-hmm. But that's because of the mistrust of health professionals, and mistrust goes way back to the Tuskegee.
Okay.
It goes way back. This is just, I don't like that doctor's attitude, so I'm not going to them. It's just history of. Oh yeah, don't
pull a Betty Lou. Don't pull a Betty.
Yeah, it's just a history of being treated with the supposedly, I guess, the father of medicine with the gynecology, how he would just go around and pay for enslaved women to operate on them with no anesthesia. It's stuff like that trickles down because they're now starting to believe that trauma is in the DNA. So if we believe that, it trickles down to where we, automatically in our DNA, so to speak. I'm not sure about health professionals if they even for my best, even if they are there for my best interest. How can I trust when all I see is you infecting us with whatever to see how it affects African Americans. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one reason. The reliance of family and religion, like I said before, for families, what goes in the house stays in the house. So we'll just put the uncle, whoever ain't right, back in the room to the left. He'll only come out when he got to go to the bathroom and maybe get something to eat. But maybe then we might take him a plate, or somebody is going to take him a plate. He don't never come out and interact. He'll never come outside.
When company there, and now when company, the only time he come out is when he go to the doctor.
Right. And this religion, pray, take it to Jesus. go to the pastor. We're gonna pray the devil out of them, and things aren't changing. It's still the same stuff. So again, it's just because of the lack of trust for health.
Now, see, you know what? See, Amber, that's where I got to say something about that.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I said, that's just from this, from the statistics.
I got you, but I'm gonna say something because I love me some Jesus, I love me some God, but my mother and father taught me common sense. And one thing we got to understand, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking to you black people. One thing you have to understand is prayer and faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Stop thinking that all you got to do is touch and agree, name it and claim it. No. You got to work. You go to the car lot and put your hands on the BMW 745 and think you're going to drive off the lot with it without doing the paperwork, without getting approved, without getting a loan, or without going to the bank and getting some money. People, we got to incorporate common sense with our religious beliefs.
That's true.
Common sense, people. I have sense enough to know that God gives people wisdom to have sense and to gain knowledge, to go to school, to become a doctor, to be able to help me through his help and strength. Because Amber, that just really, it just annoyed me when you said that, because there are some people that really think that, and it has trickled down through generations, and everybody feel like, oh, we're going to pray this demon out. I had sense enough when my daddy went into Alzheimer's to know, okay, you know what, my daddy crazy as hell, and it ain't going to get no better. But I had faith to know that we were going to be able to do what we needed to do to make sure he was going to be okay to stay at home. It's like, come on. I'm sorry. I just went off on a rant. Go ahead, Amber. I know you.
It's fine. And I mean, and that's the reason why I said that, because, like you said, there's still people that believe that, and it has trickled down, and stuff hasn't changed. So it's all good to pray, but again, like you said, you got to have that action with that prayer. It's like, okay, we're going to pray, this person going to heal, but in the meantime, we're going to take you to the doctor and see what's really going on.
That's the common sense piece.
So not just to say, oh, it's all spiritual, oh, it's a demon in them, but we done did treatment after treatment after treatment, and things still aren't right, but we're gonna still pray, and we're going at this person. It's actions behind. You don't just pray and laying on the hands of the person fall out, and it's more to it. And so, like I said, like you were saying, it just trickles down to the where we'll go to church, pray. Okay, well, what after prayer? I done prayed for 30 minutes. What now?
That's
I'm still
right.
hearing voices. So I'm still seeing stuff. But I've been praying. I've been reading the word, but I'm still hearing voices of kill my family.
Hey, thank you.
But I'm relying on the word. But I'm still hearing voices. Look at your arm and just dig deep. Stuff like that. And I mean, and that's pitiful. And I'm not even sure if that case is still out there where it was a teacher. I can't even think where to save my life. Where she had a tape, and her class, everybody had a tape of being in the mind of a schizophrenia. So they would play that tape. And it was a project that had to wear it, like as if you were suffering from schizophrenia. And you hear soft voices, like you don't really pay it no mind. And then gradually it got louder and louder and louder and louder. And it got to the point where people actually could not function because of the voices. And that's putting yourself in somebody's shoes and getting a better and bigger perspective of, okay, now I know what they're going through. Because if somebody can take you can look at somebody all day long, I'm hearing voices, they saying this, they saying that. To the average, they're like, you crazy as hell, like that. But actually doing like a case,
we're gonna make a verb out of it. They getting their Betty Lou on.
Yeah, you crazy as hell. So but actually listening to a tape, and you're taking a class, you're listening to a tape, and you trying to do just basic writing, a basic task, like writing a going to the grocery store, and that's all you're hearing all day long. You can't focus.
So, Amber, let me ask you this. You said something earlier. You said that mental illness is a silent killer, right?
Mhm.
So when you said that, I was like, don't she mean high blood pressure? But I get it now. Like, I get what you meant.
Nobody wants to talk to address.
Yes. So that silence is killing people.
Right.
But guess what? It's killing them and their family members.
Right.
Because think about it. Wonder how many, and I'm going to throw this out there for y'all that are listening to Sip and Tea with MBG this afternoon. I wonder how many marriages have messed up and been terminated because of undiagnosed mental illness. Have you ever thought about that?
Which we have addressed before. When we said, well, you're getting with folk, you
can
learn it all.
Yep. But they don't hear us, though. But when we do that revisiting, they going to hear it.
Right. Wait, I'm going to just touch on a few more stats, and then we will get into that whole silent killer thing. And
okay, because, girl, I'm feeling some type of way.
But, another stat is 25% of African Americans do not have health insurance. And, yes, there is, like free clinics or Planned Parenthood, but, again, because of the mistrust, we're not going to go.
Mm-hmm.
We'll lay in the bed and do every natural remedy or home remedy or what grandma and them used to do until it don't even work no more before we go to a doctor. That's just keeping it real. We're going to do that hot toddy before we go to the doctor to even rule out anything. But another stat, just going through and looking at, schizophrenia, because, again, this is, comparing and attacking the issues, especially when it comes to criminalization. How, an African American be a thug with somebody white, he got mental health issues. So before the 60s, schizophrenia was viewed as an illness that afflicted nonviolent white petty criminals, seen as non-threatening. Interesting, right?
Okay.
So to the mid to late 60s, it switched heavily to African American men and the connection with civil rights movement. So because they were fighting for what they believe in, now it's, you're schizophrenic. You're hearing stuff. Something ain't right with you. Which affected the DSM throughout the years because of the improper diagnosis based on race.
Well, and you know what, but Amber, really, let's just be real.
Mm-hmm.
Diabetes and high blood pressure. I mean, for real. And I hate it. But, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and it was interesting to come across that, and again, that was on psychologytoday.com, to come across that, and you're like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me because they were fighting civil rights movement, you're going to switch, and now it's, the dynamics have switched? Really?
Mm-hmm.
And again, DSM is written based off what? Experience of diagnosis. It's not like somebody sat down and said, look, this is all the personality disorders. This is how you diagnose them versus axis 1, axis 2. No, it's just based on case study after case study after case study. So what the DSM-2 had maybe 5, let's just throw a number out there, 5, DSM-4 probably got 50 now because new cases.
True.
So it's not like there's like a straight-up dictionary for everything under the sun because something is new. Because you can't predict how your mind is to me, that's just me, your mind is a galaxy. It has so much stuff going on. And based on what we know and what we've been taught, the left side is this, the right side is this, the back of your brain does this. It's so much more to it that we haven't even discovered yet. So while we might know, trauma may cause schizophrenia due to a trauma to the brain or something like that, what if, not trauma, but say, what if I just do a lot of football and never had no issues. I've always had my brain checked, but just out of the blue one day I just woke up and started hearing stuff.
Uh-huh.
But there's no trauma going on. There's no nothing in my family, Nothing.
Amber, it's, oh my God. And it's I was gonna say something about that, because the other thing is with those signs and symptoms, it's bigger than that. Oh my God. Keep on with your stats. It's gonna come back. Because it's another reason. It's a reason for that, and I cannot think of it right now. Oh my God.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like, their book is just based, like I said, based on cases, and our minds are so big and so wondrous that, yes, trauma, from what we know, caused somebody to be abnormal, so to speak. But what about that person that's been good, everything's been straight, and then all of a sudden they wake up and something ain't right? There's no trauma, no nothing in the DNA, there's nothing in the family history, anything. You
know what, here you go. This is what I was going to say. What I was going to say, too, is, guys, like, all of these things aren't necessarily genetic. Like she was saying with the football player, all those concussions and all of that hitting can cause you to start with mental illness. So don't just think you got, and you know something, Amber, and I'm going to reemphasize this. Y'all heard me say this in the intro last week. Mental illness is not a result of inadequate parenting. That's just bad as hell behavior.
Right.
That's just bad.
Right.
I mean, Amber, like, for real. And it's important that we put that out there, because everybody want to say, oh, poverty caused mental illness. No, the hell it don't.
No.
Poverty does not cause no damn mental illness.
And we're gonna put this, and we're gonna get into the winding everything up and get into the questions and.
Oh, okay, girl, because I was ready to go. I was ready to turn up.
But,
I'm tired.
Like you said, it's inadequate parenting. No, and just because somebody thinks differently than you or has a different passion than you, that don't mean their mental health either.
You right.
Let's just go out there.
Well, but Amber, that's just like being gifted, and you know how I feel about gifted.
Right.
Like, just because a child is gifted artistically and not academically, they want to say something wrong with them.
That's true. Let me get into these questions, because I want.
Please, girl, because I'm gonna go off. I'm mad already.
So we talked about attention, a little bit. Attention for help versus malingering for need. And what Lily, I'm gonna go to you first. What do you think the difference between the two is for you? Attention for help versus malingering for a need.
Oh, wow. Okay. When you say attention for help, I think those are individuals who need help, want help, but because of whatever reason, they can't get it in their immediate situation. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, when you say attention for help, I think about that being like the child in school or the wife at work, or or that child at work, even a child at work. Like, you can't. Something's wrong, and you can't ask your immediate family because of whatever reason, the stigma, associated with mental illness and stuff. Versus malingering for need, I feel like that's an attention-seeking person.
Mhm.
I need for something to be wrong with me for people to pay attention to me.
Mhm.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Adam, what about you, Adam? The difference. What do you think the difference? Just your perspective of attention.
Amber J, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Adam stepped out to the other building because it was pretty noisy and he had to handle some business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think hopefully he'll rock back out with us before we leave. But if not, he said he'll check in with us next week. So how do we
know the difference? What I mean by that is, say for instance, someone is actually need attention seeking for help, and we might get it confused with, they're just attention seeking. So how do we know the difference? Can we say, something is wrong, and I'm gonna get you to help because you're not just playing.
Amber, I think it would have to be a pattern of the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just sporadic, like, okay, if you're just doing it when you're around men, or men just acting this way when they're around women, Amber, I might be like, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. But seriously, on a serious note, like, if you see those same behaviors over, like, every day, that's when you know somebody needs help. Amber, I really believe that. I think that in order for it to be, now I do. I don't think it. I feel like I know that in order for someone to need help, this thing has to be consistent. It has got to be consistent. It's got to be a pervasive pattern. And that's a DSM-5 term.
Right.
It's got to be a pattern. That's one thing about mental illness. It's got to be a pattern. It can't just be, you can have acute mental illness, but I think that's more like with trauma, like we were talking about the car accidents and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it's got to be a pattern. I really believe that.
So what can we do as a collective and individually to even bring this awareness, for one? I mean, we already know it's mental health, but to stop being afraid and to actually help those that are suffering, the person that is the victim of the disease, and those that are around them.
Well, Amber, a big part of it is what we're doing right now. The fact that you initiated this dialogue, like, that's a big part of it. Providing the information and education, and hopefully that what you guys are listening to, hopefully it will help. It'll help the person in crisis and the family of the people in crisis. One of the major things, though, you got to be calm when you're working with somebody with mental illness. Mm-hmm. I can only personally talk about, what I dealt with my dad with Alzheimer's, which is a, form of, you could call it mental illness. That's the only thing that I can really, speak on. But you also got to ask people questions. Like, don't be afraid to be like, what can I do to make you feel a little bit safer or calmer? How can I help you? Mm-hmm. Like, the other thing is, how people have, like, hallucinations and stuff? Mm-hmm. For me, I would not more or less agree with the hallucination, but don't act like you scared of it. Like, buy into it. Buy into it and then start to kind of, what I'm saying, move into something else. Mm-hmm. Because when you start trying to change what people with mental illness are thinking, that's when they're not going to want to trust you. And the biggest thing you can do to work with individuals with mental illness, you have got to make sure. You've got to make sure that they know you care and that you're not scared of them. And don't, for God's sake, stop staring.
Right.
I have to get on my mom about that all the time because people will be, and y'all didn't know my mom, Amber, she'll be like, well, what the hell is wrong with them? And I'm like, Mom, it's more or less they got to, they're mentally ill. Well, so when they need some medication, I'm like, Mom, you don't even want to take your medication. So mental illness and physical illness is not different. You still got to take medicine for it.
That's true. That's true. And you just have to be mindful. Like you said, when it comes to a person that has mental illness, whichever diagnosis that may be, especially like you said, when it comes to the hallucinations, you have to be, you just can't be nasty, point blank period, because they can lash out at you, one. But you have to be, come off as caring, even though you may not be like, oh my God, this person is crazy. You really have to come off as caring and just say, you know what, I see those elephants that you're seeing, or where are they at, something like that, and also break it down to them and be like, you know what you see and how you think, it's okay to think that way, but you have to kind of like let them know, okay, in this world, that's not okay. Mm-hmm. And kind of let them, you have to let them know that, yes, that's what you're thinking, and it's okay for you, but outside of that, it's not okay, and this is why it's not okay. So that way they can have a better understanding. You're not judging or knocking their thinking per se. you're just letting them know, okay, you can't just go out here and just take a gun and just randomly shoot people because somebody in your brain is telling you, shoot, shoot, shoot. If you do that, this is what's going to happen in this world.
And you can't overwhelm their minds.
Right.
When people are mentally ill, number one person needs to interact with a person. They cannot have 20 people interacting with them at one time. And you have to be careful how you touch people. Now, sometimes touching a person, who's upset, it may give them a calming feeling. But really, really, really disturb people, it might cause them to hurt you. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to be talking about that's why everybody associate mental illness with murder. That's not the case. I firmly believe, and this is something, Amber, we could look at, but we could research, but I believe more people with mental illness commit suicide than homicide.
Mm.
And I would put money on it that the only time that they really commit homicide is because they are scared and think somebody is going to hurt them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like pit bulls.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to go there.
No, we're not going to go there. But, guys, this has been Sipping Tea with MBG. Of course, we, laid the foundation down as far as what we're going to talk about throughout this month and really gave you some meat, something to think about, something to sit on, something to chew on. And it's going to get, you think this was heavy, it's going to get even heavier, especially when Lily get into that borderline. When we start talking about borderline and histrionic, then it's really going to get deep. You like borderline and histrionic? Oh, yeah. It's going to get real deep. You got any final thoughts for us, Lillie Mae?
Amber, not really. Like I said before, the biggest thing is, we see with our brains, not with our eyes. We see with our brains, not with our eyes. Your eyes cannot really accurately tell the story. You have to process it. So just understand that what I see is not what Amber sees. It's not what Adam sees. It's not what Antoine sees. We all process differently. And until we understand that, we're going to always have problems. And, Amber, that's all I got to say.
And I'm going to piggyback off you, and that's what makes MBG what MBG is. It's about different perspectives and coming together to hear each other's thoughts and how the thoughts are processed to come to a better understanding, and that's what we're here for. We so many times, want change, but we're not willing to listen to adapt to the change or even incorporate the change for it to be better for a collective. I mean, it's just like you said, everybody thinks different, sees stuff different, but nobody wants to talk about the difference so we can come to a common ground. And that's what we need to do, and that's why it's so important that we talk about mental health and continue to talk about it, because it's a forbidden area. It's scary, but it shouldn't be scary because everybody deals with it or has dealt with it in some way or knows somebody has dealt with it in some way. But this is Amber J. Sipping Tea with MBG. I got my girl Lillie Mae in the building, Adam the editor, Antoine the confidential informant, and as always, MBG listens.
And then we speak.
See you next week.